I don't like technically like things that go with gimmicks, and that's what that whole thing felt like.
J. Cole just recently dropped his long-awaited album, The Fall Off, and it did well. But then after that, he started selling his CDs out of the trunk of his car,
Right.
toured all over the place. There's some people that don't really care about it anymore. They kind of, you know, Joe Budden, for example, was not feeling it. He was happy when the Honda broke down.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think about that?
So one, I thought that the project was dope. Let's start there. I thought like the music was really good. Not my favorite project from Cole.
Yeah.
But definitely I like the fact that he created an amazing body of work. You know what I mean? I don't like technically like things that go with gimmicks. And that's what that whole thing felt like. And I feel like he kind of has like survivor's remorse, where it's like, you know, he does like this whole like weird sweats and like the Crocs and, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if that's your style, that's your style. But it's like you doing so much to show, like, I don't give a about the money, then give it away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you got the bread to go pull up in a Lambo truck and still do your CD run, do that. But to get an old Civic that's like, yo, I guess like that was his mom's car back in the day. I don't know the full story about the Civic, but I'm just going, you doing a lot to show us like, yo, I'm one of y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't jacking it for that reason.
I don't see it that way. I don't see, J. Cole doesn't give me that. I think he's just playing on the nostalgia of it all. And he's like, you know, and then it also, it's like branding, right? This album is really about the survivor's remorse, me going back to Fayetteville, me telling stories about, you know, being a celebrity now and reaching success, but I came from nothing. So it's like, oh, let me get the Honda Civic, let me ride around in the busted Honda Civic, like old days, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't feel like it's gimmicky because J. Cole always has that aura about him. He never gave flashy. Never gave.
But I'm not saying that he had to give all flashy. But what I'm just trying to get to is like, if your intent was to connect with the people and like, yo, be forward facing and like, yo, like complete that mission. Like, it don't have to be wrapped up in a Honda Civic, which I think also the breakdown was planned. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I also, like, if it was like, I saw like the monks that was kind of like going through. Like,
they walked.
Yeah, like
that's crazy, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if we doing that, where it's like, yo, like this is, you know, wholeheartedly, and people are on the way helping you and doing certain things, cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But if you just like, I'm gonna do this for the sake of it, I'm with the nostalgia. I love nostalgia. I love like feeling like something that made me feel some ways ago. But the whole idea of I had to do this in this busted Civic, I still don't even know. Like, if this was Kendrick's van, we all know the van. I don't know anybody that knows the Civic.
I think the branding just isn't strong. Like, I think he just doesn't have those people on his team to kind of develop the visual story of things and the physical story.
So this wasn't executed the correct.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And also,
maybe that was
I think they're just not that creative.
I think that's
in your opinion. Huh? In your opinion,
you thought it was creative?
You listen. I think y'all know my position. What's the real thing going on in music? Are these artists making money from these streams? Are these artists connecting? Like, the music system is really messed up. Like, everybody's trying to figure it out. We have an artist.
He's also independent. Like,
he's indie. We have an artist come out saying that they was broke the whole entire time. You know what I mean? Like,
they've been saying that.
That's a fact.
Bruh. It's hard.
You
know what I mean? And everyone's trying to cut through, and we have a deluge of information. People can watch this podcast instead of listening to J. Cole right now. And drop. You know what I mean? So he's competing with us right now in a lot of ways.
I think they're each making valid points where it can kind of come off gimmicky, but also it went along with the album. So I agreed there too. So I think it was kind of, you know, he's playing both ways. When you're saying,
that's what I'm asking. Like, was this full story? Like, that's what I'm just trying to understand. Why do we need the Civic? Like, maybe that's the part where I'm missing. It's like, why the Civic?
There was in the I think in his first mixtape, I think it's tied to
the warm up with
the vehicle for connection.
I think this is an age gap issue between the generations of hip hop in general, because there's always going to be a backstory, but you never go to like Paris and go to the Louvre and see a painting and be like, oh, I don't get where this came from. You know what I mean? Like honor art is art, right? You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion. I'm a little bit older than y'all, so I'm from a position of like, yo, for these artists, it's so hard. So any artistry You know how long it took
I
me
agree.
as a comic to like really post some of my stuff?
Yeah.
Because I talk wild on stage
Absolutely.
that is not my real life.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Do you know what I mean?
Right,
Like if
I
I
feel
post a clip right now, you're gonna think I'm the craziest in the whole entire world. But it's some I've seen throughout my 20-something years in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the artistry has to come up because since the business model of streaming and music and TV and everything we talked about,
Yeah.
the freaking the whatchamacallit, the people buying other people.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing that matters is that for us, the thing that really matters is that our artistry creates dollars quickly.
That's a fact.
Right?
Even down to this point too, my fault.
No, you good.
So I'm glad I heard this story. But the other part of it is, you know how he did like the small mixtape before the album actually came out?
Yeah.
Which was like that nostalgia feel, which felt like the Desert Storm mixtapes back in the day. I actually did love that.
I love that too.
Yeah, like I love the idea, like what made me want to rap in the beginning is hearing like Fab and Ransoms and Joe Buttons on these type of tapes. It was like it would make your heart and buying them from like the homie that's selling them,
dude.
selling them. You get 2 for $5 on Fridays, like you know what I'm saying. So I like that. It's so much that's going on that part. I wish that story was told, I guess, a little bit more.